This is a video about speculation in futures market. Introduction, speculation in futures market. So types of speculating strategy in futures market. So we have two types of speculating strategy. The first one, we call it a speculative selling. The second one as a speculative buying. So when to use speculative selling? So we use speculative selling when you expect a bearish market or price decrease. For speculative buying, investor use in futures market when investor believe market is going to be bullish or price increase. So if you use speculative selling strategy, you open position and you need to sell futures contract. Then you close out position, you need to buy futures contract. So close out position, you take opposite position. For speculative buying, investors start by using buy futures contract, open position, buy futures contract, and close out, take opposite position. So investor need to sell futures contract. Let's look at a speculative selling strategy that investor use when investor believe there is a bearish market in futures contract. So speculative selling strategy. Speculative selling strategy is used in futures market when investors predict the futures market is going to decrease or bearish market. So step number 1, to calculate profit and loss for speculative selling strategy, you need to calculate total initial margin. Formula for total initial margin is initial margin per contract times number of futures contract. Second step, you need to calculate total maintenance margin. So total maintenance margin is equal to maintenance margin per contract times number of futures contract. Step number 3, you need to calculate daily floating profit or loss. So investors who use speculative selling strategy open their position in futures market by selling futures contract and close out position by purchasing futures contract. If an investor start position in day 0 and close out in day 1, futures price of day 0 is the selling price while futures price of day 1 is the buying price. Formula to calculate daily floating profit or loss is based on types of futures contract. So if you use FCPO contract, you need to calculate by using FCPO formula profit and loss. If you want to calculate daily floating profit for FKLI, then you use formula for FKLI. Same goes to FMG and FKB3. So to calculate daily floating profit and loss, you must identify what is your selling price and buying price. So the floating profit is calculated on the daily basis. If the period of speculative selling strategy is 3 days, the following table shows the example how to identify selling price and buying price to calculate daily floating profit or loss for speculative selling. Let's say you have price from day 0 until day 3, if you refer to this table. So you open position in day 0, price at 2560. So open position for speculative selling, you start by sell futures contract. So day 1, price moved to 2368. So to calculate daily floating profit and loss for day 1, you must identify your selling price and buying price for day 1. So selling price for day 1 is 2560, which is the price at day 0. Buying price is price for day 1, which is at 2368. So for day 2, price moved 2245. So your selling price is a price at day 1, which is 2368, and your buying price is a price at day 2, which is the 2245. If the price in day 3 moved to 2212, so the selling price for day 3 is a price of day 2, which is 2245, and the buying price is a price of day 3, which is 2212. So after you identify your buying and selling price, you can calculate daily floating profit or loss for each futures contract. So this is formula for FCPO, selling price minus buying price times NF times SF, where NF is number of FCPO, SS SF is the size of FCPO, which is 25 metric ton per contract. So this is formula daily floating profit or loss for FKLI. So selling price minus buying price times NF times SF. So size of contract for FKLI is 50 ringgit per contract. So this is formula floating profit or loss for FMG. Selling price minus buying price times NF times 100 times MPF. So NF is number of contract for FMG. MPS is a minimum price fluctuation for FMG, which is 10 ringgit per contract. So this is speculative selling strategy. Formula floating profit or loss for FKB3. So selling price minus buying price times MF times 100 times VBP. VBP is value of 1 basis point. For FKB3 is 25 ringgit. Step number 4, you need to prepare mark-to-market table. So mark-to-market table, we have 7 columns. The first column is price, and then we have DPL. DPL is daily floating profit or loss, which is you get from step number 3. And then you have column IM. IM is initial margin. And then you have column BM. BM is balance margin. MM is maintenance margin, CM is call margin, VM is variable margin. So if you look at this table and the formula, how to calculate balance margin? Balance margin day 1 is equal to variable margin day 0 plus or minus daily floating profit and loss for day 1. MM is a maintenance margin. CM is call margin. How to calculate call margin? First, you need to compare balance margin with total maintenance margin. So if balance margin higher than total maintenance margin, your call margin is equal to 0. If balance margin less than total maintenance margin, so your call margin is equal to total initial margin minus balance margin. So VM is the variable margin. VM day 1 is equal to balance margin day 1 plus call margin day 1. TIM is total initial margin. So you get total initial margin from step number 1. TMM is total maintenance margin. You get total maintenance margin from the step number 2. So step number 5, you need to calculate total profit or loss from futures market. So you need to choose your formula based on the futures contract that you use in your speculating strategy. So this is all the formula for profit and loss for FCPO, FKLI, FMG, and FKB3. And the last step, you need to calculate leverage effect, which is you need to calculate rate of return and change in price. So rate of return day 1 is equal to total futures profit or loss day 1 divided by total initial margin times 100. Change in price equal to futures price day 1 minus futures price day 0 divided by futures price day 0 times 100. If the question asks you to calculate leverage effect day 3, then rate of return day 3 is equal to total futures profit or loss day 3 divided by total initial margin times 100. Change in price day 3 is equal to futures price day 3 minus futures price 0 divided by futures price 0 times 100. Now we look at example for speculative selling strategy. A speculator expects FCPO market is going to drop in the next 5 days of trading. He plans to trade 10 FCPO contract at price 2784 on 5 May 2020. The initial margin of FCPO is 10% from FCPO contract value and maintenance margin is 90% from initial margin. Prepare his mark-to-market position and calculate the leverage effect of his speculating strategy in FCPO market if the price evolves as follows and he closed out his position on 10 May 2020. Broker's commission per contract is 30 ringgit per contract. So based on the market expectation, price is going to decrease. The speculator expect bearish market in FCPO, so therefore he should use speculative selling strategy. So if you refer to this question, the question gives you information that total initial margin of FCPO is 10% from FCPO contract value, and the maintenance margin is 90% from initial margin. So you must find out what is the futures contract value, how much is the initial margin per contract, and maintenance margin per contract. So to calculate that, first you need to calculate value of one FCPO contract. So if you refer to the video for contract value, initial margin, and maintenance margin per contract, you can use the formula from that video. So to calculate contract value of FCPO per contract, the formula is, this is for FCPO, current futures price times size of FCPO. So RM2784, this is price at day 0, times 25, so you get 69,900 ringgit. Then you can calculate initial margin of FCPO contract. So percentage of initial margin given in the question is 10% from contract value. So initial margin of FCPO per contract, the formula is equal to percentage of initial margin time value of one FCPO contract, because percentage given is a percentage from value of one FCPO contract. So 10% times 69,600, you get 6,960 ringgit. Next, you need to calculate maintenance margin of FCPO per contract. So maintenance margin of FCPO per contract is equivalent to percentage of maintenance margin time initial margin of FCPO per contract. We use this formula because the question states that the maintenance margin is 90% from initial margin. So 90% times initial margin per contract, 6,960 ringgit, you get 6,264 ringgit. Then you can start prepare your speculation strategy. Step number 1, you need to calculate total initial margin. So total initial margin, the formula is initial margin per contract times number of futures contract. So initial margin per contract, 6,960 times number of futures contract that you use in this speculation strategy is 10% given in the question. So you get 69,600 ringgit. Step number 2, you need to calculate total maintenance margin. So total maintenance margin, the formula is equal maintenance margin per contract times number of futures contract. So maintenance margin per contracts that we calculated before, 6,264 ringgit times 10 number of futures contract. That's mean total maintenance margin for your speculation strategy is 62,640 ringgit. Step number 3, you need to calculate daily floating profit or loss. Okay, so you have price from day 0 until day 5. So this is speculation strategy, speculative selling strategy. So speculative selling strategy, you start in day 0, 2784, you sell futures contract. So broker assume you're going to close out tomorrow, so day 1 become buying price 2720. So to calculate the floating profit or loss for FCPO, the formula is selling price minus buying price times 10. This is number of futures contract times 25. This is size of FCPO contract. So selling price and buying price is based on your speculation strategy. So you start sell, that's mean price day 0 is equal to sell, price day 1 equal to buy. That's why for daily floating profit and loss day 1, 2784, Selling price day 0 is the selling price. Minus 2720, this is your buying price, which is the price in day 1. So you get positive value 16,000. So if you get positive, that's mean you make profit. If you calculate the daily floating profit and loss, you get negative, you make a loss. So from this table, you can see that day 1, day 2, day 4, and day 5, you make a profit. Day 3, you make a loss of 69,500. Step number 4, we need to prepare mark-to-market table. So to prepare this table, you need to prepare all the column first. So you have column day and then followed by price. DFL is for daily floating profit and loss. IM is the column for initial margin. BM is the column for balance margin. MM is for maintenance margin. CM is for call margin. VM is the variable margin. Okay, so first you fill up column price and DFL. So price you can copy from the question. DFL, daily floating profit and loss, you copy from the previous step. So you have already calculated. Day 1 you make profit 16,000. Day 2 you make profit 25,200 positive. Day 3 you make a total loss of 69,500. Day 4 you make a profit 26,750, and day 5 you make another profit 41,750. Next, you need to fill up column initial margin. So column initial margin is only occur in day 0 because initial margin you pay when you start your transaction. So we start transaction in day 0. So total initial margin you get from step number 1, you need to pay 69,600. So you only put that one in day 0. Next, you need to fill up column maintenance margin. So maintenance margin, total maintenance margin you have calculated in step number 2 is 62,640 ringgit. So you fill up for every day from day 0 to day 5. So maintenance margin is a guideline for the investor whether the investor need to pay call margin or not. Alright. So there is no calculation for daily floating profit or loss for day 0 because you just start open position in futures market. So therefore, your variable margin for day 0 is equal to initial margin day 0, which is in this case 69,600. Next, we need to prepare for row day 2. So first we calculate balance margin day 2. So balance margin day 2 equal to variables margin day 1, which is 85,600 plus daily profit you make in day 2, which is 25,250. So balance margin day 2 is 110,850 ringgit. Next, you need to compare that balance margin with maintenance margin. So 110,850 ringgit is higher than maintenance margin, which is the 62,640. Therefore, your call margin for day 0 is equal to, call margin for day 2 is equal to 0. Alright, next we need to calculate variables margin day 2. So variables margin day 2 is equal to balance margin day 2 plus call margin day 2. So balance margin day 2 is 110,850 ringgit plus call margin day 2 is equal to 0. Therefore, your variables margin day 2 is 110,850 ringgit. Next, we move to day 3. So day 3, you make a total loss of 69,500. So we need to calculate balance margin for day 3. So balance margin day 3 is equal to variables margin day 2, which is 110,850 ringgit, minus total loss day 3, which is 69,500. So your balance margin in day 3 is 41,350. So next, we compare balance margin day 3 with maintenance margin. So in this case, balance margin 41,350 is less than maintenance margin, which is 62,640. So when balance margin is less than maintenance margin, you need to pay call margin. So how much call margin you need to pay? The formula for call margin is total initial margin minus balance margin day 3. So in this case, total initial margin, if we refer to the column, initial margin is 69,600 minus balance margin day 3, which is 41,350. So your call margin for day 3 is 28,250 ringgit. Next, you can calculate variables margin for day 3. So variables margin day 3, the formula is balance margin day 3, which is 41,350 plus call margin day 3, which is 28,250. So variable margin day 3 is 69,600. In day 4, you make a total profit. If you refer to daily profit and loss, you make total profit 26,750. So you can calculate balance margin for day 4. Balance margin day 4 is equal to variables margin day 3, which is 69,600 plus profit day 4, 26,750. So balance margin in day 4 is 96,350. Next, you need to compare that's balance margin day 4 with maintenance margin. So maintenance margin, if you compare with the balance margin is higher than maintenance margin. So 96,350 is higher than 62,640. So your call margin is equal to 0. So variable margin day 4 is equal to balance margin day 4, which is 96,350 plus call margin day 4, which is equal to 0. So variables margin day 4 is 96,350. In day 5, you make a total profit 41,750. So you can calculate balance margin day 5. So balance margin day 5 is equal to variable margin day 4, which is 96,340. 50 plus 41,750, which is the profit in day 5. So balance margin in day 5 is 138,100 ringgit. So you compare that 138,001 ringgit with the maintenance margin. So it is bigger than maintenance margin. So your call margin in day 5 is equal to 0. So you can calculate variable margin day 5. So balance margin day 5, which is 138,100 ringgit plus call margin day 5, which is 0. So variable margin day 5 is equal to 138,000. So you already completed all your mark-to-market table. So you must calculate it on daily basis. So step number 5, you need to calculate total profit or loss from futures market. So total profit and loss, the formula is selling price minus buying price times number of futures times size of futures minus broker's commission times number of futures. So this is formula profit and loss for FCPO. If you answer speculative selling for FKB3 or FMG or FKLI, you need to change this formula profit and loss based on the futures contract. So in this case, you want to calculate total profit and loss for day 5. So you start sell in day 0, 2784. You close in day 5, 2623 times 10 number of futures contract times 25 number of size of futures contract. And then broker's commission given in the question is 30 ringgit per contract times 10 number of contract. So your total profit and loss is 39,950 ringgit. If the question asks you to calculate total profit and loss day 3, then you must use closing price in day 3. Step number 6, you need to calculate leverage effect day 5. So when question asks you to calculate leverage effect, that means you need to calculate rate of return and change in price. So rate in return day 5 is equal to total profit and loss day 5 divided by total initial margin times 100. So you get 39,950. That is total profit and loss in day 5 minus 69,000 600 times 100. So your profit and loss is 57.4%. Change in price in day 5 is equal to price 5 minus price 0 divided by price 0. So 2,623, which is the price in day 5, minus 2,784, which is the price in day 0 divided by 2,784 price day 0 times 100. So you get negative 5.78%. Next, we move to speculative buying strategy. So speculative buying strategy, investor use when an investor expect a bullish market or price is going to increase. Speculative buying strategy. Speculative buying strategy is used in futures market when investors predict the futures market is going to increase or bullish trend. So step number 1, to prepare speculative buying strategy, you need to calculate total initial margin. The formula for total initial margin is equal to initial margin per contract times number of futures contract. Step number 2, you need to calculate total maintenance margin. So total maintenance margin is equal to maintenance margin per contract times number of futures contract. So step number 3, you need to calculate daily floating profit or loss. So investor who use speculative buying strategy open their position in futures market by buying futures contract and close out position by selling futures contract. So if the investor start position in day 0 and close out in day 1, futures price of day 0 is the buying price while futures price of day 1 is the selling price. So formula to calculate daily floating profit or loss is based on the type of futures contract. So whether the question asks you about FCPO, FKLI, FMG or FKB3. So this is example identification, selling price and buying price for speculative buying strategy. So the floating profit is calculated on daily basis. If the period of speculative buying strategy is 3 days, the following table shows example how to identify selling and buying price to calculate daily floating profit or loss for speculative buying strategy. So we have day 0 until day 3. So you start your transaction in day 0 where the price at 2560 and then day 1 price move to 2368, day 2 price move to 2245 and day 3 price move to 2212. So you start with buying because you use speculative buying strategy. So day 0 your buying price is 2560. So in day 1, broker assume you're going to close out your position. So to calculate floating profit and loss for day 1, your buying price is the previous day price when you open your position, which is at 2560, which is price day 0. And your selling price is a price in day 1, which is 2368. To calculate daily floating profit and loss for day 2, broker assume you open position yesterday and you're going to close out your position today. So you open position, you buy futures at price day 1, which is 2368, and then broker assume you're going to close out in day 2. So price day 2, you sell futures, your selling price at 2245. Day 3, broker assume you open position, buy futures in day 2 and close out your transaction in day 3, which is you close out at price day 3. So your buying price is day 2 at 2245 and your selling price is at day 3, which is at 2212. After you identify daily selling price and buying price, you can calculate daily floating profit or loss for futures contract. So this is formula for FCPO and this one for FKLI. This is formula for FMG and this is formula for FKB3. So when you calculate daily floating profit and loss, you must change the formula based on the futures contract that you use in your speculative buying strategy. Step number 4, you need to prepare mark-to-market table. This is similar table that I have explained in the speculative selling strategy. Same concept, same formula, and all the step is similar with speculative selling strategy. So step number 5, you need to calculate total profit or loss for futures market. So the difference between calculation on floating profit and loss with total profit and loss is floating profit and loss, you don't consider broker's commission in the formula. But for total profit and loss from the speculation strategy, you must include broker's commission in the calculation. So you must change the formula based on the futures contract that you use in your speculative buying strategy. So if you use FKB3, then you need to use formula for FKB3. So you need to remember for speculative buying strategy, step number 3 and step number 5, you must change it based on the futures contract. So step number 6, you need to calculate leverage effect. So this is formula for leverage effects. First you calculate rate of return, and then you need to calculate change in price. Let's move to the example for question speculative buying strategy. An active speculator predicts that the economic recession is over and bullish trend is going to start in Bursa Malaysia. Today, on 1st February 2020, he trades 23 FKLI contracts at price 1345 and the dealer charge commission of 26 ringgit per contract. He is required to pay 10% from contract value as initial margin. Bursa Malaysia required all transactions in FKLI markets to maintain 90% from initial margin as the maintenance margin. Prepare his mark-to-market table and calculate his leverage effect if he close out his position on the 6th February 2020. Then question give you the price from 2nd of February, which is the first day of your trading. So you start in day 0, which is 1st February at price 1345. So first day is your 2nd February and then you close out in the 6th February 2020. So in this example, the speculator believe the market is going to bullish or increase in price. So we use speculative buying strategy. So before we can start with the calculation for speculative buying strategy, you must calculate what is the initial margin per contract and maintenance margin per contract, because in the question, the amount is given in the percentage. So initial margin is 10% from contract value, where maintenance margin is 90% from initial margin. So in order to calculate maintenance margin and initial margin, first you need to calculate value of one FKLI contract. So price at day 0 is 1345 times size of FKLI is 50 ringgit. So contract value is 67,250 ringgit. Then you can calculate initial margin of FKLI per contract. So initial margin is 10% from contract value. So 10% times 67,250. So your initial margin is 6,725 ringgit. Next, you can calculate maintenance margin per contract. So maintenance margin is 90% from the initial margin. So initial margin is 6,725 ringgit. Maintenance margin is 90% from it. So therefore, the maintenance margin is 6,052 ringgit and 50 cents. Step number 1, you need to calculate total initial margin. So total initial margin per contract 6,725 ringgit times number of futures contract used in your speculative buying strategy, which is 23. So you get total initial margin 154,675 ringgit. Step number 2, you need to calculate total maintenance margin. So total maintenance margin is maintenance margin per contract 6,052 ringgit 50 cents times 23 futures contract. So your total maintenance margin is 139,207 ringgit and 50 cents. Step number 3, you need to calculate daily floating profit or loss. So you start your transaction day 0, you buy futures contract. So you buy at 1345. Broker assume you're going to close out tomorrow. So you for profit day 1, daily profit and loss day 1, 1456 the selling price minus 1345 price day 0 as a buying price times 23 times 50, you get 127650. For day 2, broker assume you buy at price 1456 and sell at price 1587. So formula to calculate floating profit and loss day 2, 1587 selling price day 2 minus 1456 buying price day 1 times 23 times 50, you get 150,650 ringgit. So you calculate for day 3, day 4 and day 5. So step number 4, you need to prepare mark-to-market table. So first you need to prepare all the columns. So you have column day, price, daily profit and loss, initial margin, IM, BM is balance margin, MM is maintenance margin, CM is call margin, VM is variable margin. So there is no calculation daily floating profit or loss for day 0 because you just open position in day 0. Therefore, variable margin day 0 is equal to initial margin day 0, which is 154,675. So first, you just fill in column for price, daily profit and loss you get from step number 3. And then initial margin, you just put in day 0 because initial margin, you just pay it in day 0 when you start your transaction in futures market. And then you fill up column maintenance margin for every day in your speculative buying strategy because maintenance margin is a guideline for the investor whether the investor needs to pay call margin or not. So 139,207 ringgit and 50 cent. This one for maintenance margin you get from step number 2. Initial margin you get from step number 1. Then you can start calculate balance margin for day 1. So balance margin day 1 is equal to variables margin day 0 plus profit in day 1. So variable margin day 0 is 154,675 ringgit plus profit day 1 127,650 ringgit. So balance margin day 1 is 282,325. So then you compare balance margin with maintenance margin. So in this case for day 1, balance margin 282,325 ringgit is higher than 139,207 ringgit and 50 cents. So you don't need to pay call margin. So your call margin is equal to 0. So your variables margin day 1 is equal to balance margin day 1 plus call margin day 1 which is 0. So your variables margin day 1 is 282,325 ringgit. Then you can calculate for day 2 by using same procedure like the previous calculation for day 1. So balance margin day 2 is equal to variables margin day 1 which is 282,325 ringgit plus profit day 2 which is 150,650. So your balance margin in day 2 is 432,975 ringgit. Then you compare this amount with maintenance margin. It is higher than maintenance margin. So your call margin in day 2 is equal to 0. So your variables margin in day 2 is 432,975 ringgit, which is the balance margin day 2 plus call margin day 2, which is 0. So your variables margin day 2 is 432,975 ringgit. In day 3, you make a total loss of 265,650 ringgit. So you can calculate balance margin for day 3. So balance margin day 3 is equal to variables margin day 2, which is 432,975 ringgit, minus loss in day 3, 265,650 ringgit. So your balance margin in day 3 is 167,325 ringgit. So you compare balance margin day 3 is higher than maintenance margin day 3. So your calls margin in day 3 is equal to 0. Therefore, your variables margin in day 3 is equal to 167,325 ringgit. Okay, next you can refer to these notes on how to calculate balance margin day 4, calls margin day 4, and variables margin day 4. And last one, you calculate balance margin day 5, call margin day 5, and variables margin day 5. So step number 5, you calculate total profit or loss for FKLI. So total profit and loss, this one I use formula FKLI because in the speculative buying strategy, the investor use FKLI contract. So the formula is selling price minus buying price times number of futures times size of futures minus broker's commission times number of futures contract. So selling price here is selling price day 5 because you close out in day 5. So selling price day 5 is 1654 minus buying price is a price day 0, 1345 times number of futures 23 times size of futures, which is 50 ringgit per contract for FKLI, minus 26 ringgit broker's commission per contract times 23, which is number of futures contract. So total profit and loss for the speculative selling strategy, speculative buying strategy is 354,752 ringgit. And last step, you calculate leverage effect day 5. So first, you need to calculate rate of return day 5. So to calculate rate of return day 5, you must use total futures profit or loss day 5 divided by initial margin times 100. So you get 229.35%, and change in price, futures price day 5 minus futures price day 0 divided by futures price day 0. So you get 22.97%. So that's all for speculation strategy in futures market. Thank you.